how do I choose which mastering engineer to work with? Now, look, here's the thing. Every mastering engineer who's good at their job will provide you with a great sounding master. So it doesn't really matter who's mastering your song. Every mastering engineer who's good at their job will provide you with a great sounding master. Obviously, there's a lot of mastering engineers who aren't good at their work, and they won't provide you with a great sounding master. And since COVID, there's mastering engineers everywhere. Everyone with a DAW during COVID became a mastering engineer and offered their services, and good luck to them. Look, there's plenty of work going about. There's so much work mastering, and look, from my perspective, there's too much for us to do. There's plenty for everyone else to do. There's literally too much. We're on to building our 4th studio now to keep up with demand and keep up with work. And there's a huge demand worldwide for mastering, especially analog mastering. I don't know too much about the digital mastering, but I do hear from a lot of people who are digital mastering engineers and they are struggling. So I know myself, there's a huge demand for analog mastering, and people who want that little bit more, they want that little bit better sound in their masters. So there's a lot of high-end mastering engineers who have great rooms, great speakers, will provide you with a great master. But there's certain things that separate, and how do you choose which one to go with? There's certain things that separate different engineers. Like, for instance, if I was choosing a mastering engineer, how well do you know them? Do you know the person? Have you got to know the person? Do you have any rapport with them? You know, they're factors. This is why I do these videos. I get to know people. I speak to people. I talk to every single person in the comments, and the amounts of people that come through ordering mastering with me and say, love the videos. You've kind of given me so much, helped me over the years, all this sort of stuff, and it's lovely to hear. And then they turn into clients, and this is why I do the videos. You know, I do that because it ultimately creates it creates work. You know, people come to me because they get to know me. So there is that factor, and that's something that does play a part when you're selecting who to work with, who's going to master your track. Because if you get to know them, you kind of have this trust with them. You know they're capable of doing the job. The other thing to do is look at their previous work. You know, who they've worked with before, what songs they've done. You know, if they've done massive projects, you know, they're more than capable doing a kind of an underground artist's song kind of thing. So that's something to look at. The other thing to look at is obviously equipment. Now, each engineer has different equipment. No engineer has all the same stuff. That creates their own unique sound. You've got their unique sound in the sense of what they do with the work, what they do with the song, and then you've got the unique sound that the equipment offers. Now, this is the issue with digital mastering, is there's no real uniqueness about a digital studio using plugins compared to an analog studio that's using lots of high-end equipment. Because when it comes to certain pieces of gear, it has a certain sound, and the engineer knows how to get the most out of each piece of equipment to create this sound that is unique to them based on the fact of what they use to get that sound. So that's something to look at. You know, we've got certain pieces of equipment, like in Studio A, we've got an Alpha compressor, Shadow Hills compressor, a Masalek MLA3 compressor, an Unfairchild compressor. There's literally everything that you could want from a high-end mastering studio in that studio. I go for the more modern tone, the more modern sound, with all the digitally recallable gear that's very modern, very kind of precision mastering as such. So we have two very different sounds in two different studios. Now, when selecting who to work with, there's also budgets. You know, if you're an artist that's only going to go out and make £200 off of your record, then you're not going to be wanting to spend £200 on mastering. That's where people like myself, like what we do with our mastering services, we make sure that it's affordable for everyone. So we've got a base rate of £50 for mastering, and then you can order mastering that costs £200 if you want. And that's stem mastering, lots of stems, 1 day turnaround, Apple Digital Masters, vinyl masters, auditional masters, everything you could want. There's a lot of people that do pay £200 per master because they need everything. But if you are only requiring a stereo master and that's all you need, then the rate is very affordable for you. So that's why when we did our pricing structure for our services, we made sure we covered everyone. We got the A-list and the people who are more established, who are making more money out of their releases. They can spend £200 on a master, whereas people who aren't, they can make sure they only spend £50 on a master, and then they can guarantee that they'll recoup that, or it's an investment into their sound, and it doesn't matter if they recoup it, and it's all for fun kind of thing. All they want to do is make sure that the end result is the best it can possibly be. And the thing with it is the £50 master and the £200 master are very similar. It's all based on your needs. And if you want Apple Digital Mastering, Dolby Atmos mastering, all that sort of stuff, then that's there and you can order that. But the actual end result of the mastering, it all runs through the same equipment. The end result of both masters is still very, very similar. It's just obviously with the stem mastering, you give us more control over the master, and we're able to kind of push it that little extra mile with regards to having control over the stems rather than just working with that stereo mix or pre-master. So yeah, when it comes to selecting your mastering engineer, those are the things that you want to kind of factor in, and look at who they've worked with. If they've worked with people that you know already and you like the songs and you like the sound that they're getting, then that's the mastering engineer for you, kind of thing. You know that if they're doing stuff for someone else that you know and you like what you're hearing them put out, then a logical kind of step to take is, oh, they do a good job with my master. But one thing to kind of bear in mind is there's a lot of mastering engineers that don't have a lot of experience mastering, and they kind of popped up over COVID, a lot of people, and fair play to them, build it and they will come kind of thing. Build a website, create a service, and if you pick up jobs doing mastering, by all means pick up the jobs doing mastering. Like I said at the beginning, there's plenty of mastering work out there. So the only ones to bear in mind are people like that who you may think they'll do a good job, but the problem you have is, unless you have a reference point of what your full potential of your song is compared to this master that you've received, it's very difficult to gauge, because when a master comes back, it's like, wow, it sounds amazing. It always does. And if you're comparing it to like a self master, majority of mastering engineers will be able to achieve a master that's going to sound better than your kind of self master or an AI master, for instance. But then it's one of these ones where you don't really know the potential until you reference it against something. And I'm not saying go out and get masters off of different engineers and then compare them. But what you can do is find someone that gives you a great master and stick with that person, and they become a very much a part of your sound as much as you're a part of your sound. It's like, there's people I've worked with for 15 years. I've worked with them from the beginning of this company, and I'm still working with them now, and I'm very much a part of their sound, and we've got a great relationship together. So we kind of all progress together, kind of thing. And yeah, that's something to bear in mind. So look, equipment, look at the engineer's equipment, look at the engineer's room. If the engineer's sitting in a really nice room that's clearly very accurate, they're going to be hearing your music, your song in clarity and be able to make those right adjustments. If you look at their studio and they've got a pair of near field monitors and kind of like in a relatively bad looking room, you're most probably, even if they're able to do the best master in the world, if they can't hear how it should sound perfectly, that plays a massive factor on the outcome of your master. So look, looking at the room, making sure that the room, the speakers, everything, is it Trinnov optimized? That's a massively important thing, I guess, as well. Making sure that that room is perfect. And like, well, how do you know whether it is perfect or not? I guess you don't. But if the engineer has a Trinnov, you can 99% say that it's pretty much accurate, and what they are hearing is pretty much accurate to what they should be hearing. So yeah, the other thing, look, equipment, looking at what equipment they have, their previous work, their clients, the other things that you can look at is go on their website and look at their testimonials, look at how much work they've done, who they've worked with, and read what other people have said. Because like, if you went onto the list of our testimonials, I mean, we've got probably 1,000 testimonials. We've taken about 46,000 orders now up to date. I think it's around 46,000 currently. So look, from my perspective, is we've worked with thousands upon thousands of songs, and we've got thousands of clients who have left testimonials and said great things, and they're all published on our website. So things like that, look at people's websites, look at the engineers' websites, look at who they've worked with, the testimonials, what people say about their work, things like that. The other thing I think as well is to bear in mind, is look at the mastering engineer, and if they're offering, some offer this, and I think it's a bad thing to offer. Some offer this kind of get your master done and then you can pay for it after if you're happy with it. Now, if you're offering that, the reason you're offering that sort of service is because you don't have enough mastering work. Now, there's no way on earth I could offer that as a service, because for the simple fact that a lot of people will use that sort of service as a kind of try before you buy. They won't ever have the intention of actually ordering the master. They just want to hear what it sounds like, kind of thing. Then they want to reference it against their master that they've done, see how much difference there is. There's a lot of time wasters in that realm. I've got a mate who does that exact same mastering process, and he's a very good engineer. He's actually good at mastering, but he probably, if he does 5 masters that are kind of this try before you buy demo master type thing, 2 of them will pay off and 3 of them won't. So then he's done 5 times the work and only got paid for 2. And he doesn't like doing it, but he's kind of a little bit kind of pigeonholed in now. He can't get out of doing that, and I'm very glad I've never gone down that route. But he gets a full day's worth of work doing masters. He just only gets paid for half the day's work, which I don't think's logical. I don't think that's a very good way. That as a business model doesn't work. It especially doesn't work for me. But there are some engineers that do that, and what it does scream to me personally is that they can't win the work without doing it that way. And I've done a lot of kind of market research with engineers that do this sort of thing, and I've had conversations with them about that, and they've mentioned to me, yeah, that kind of is the case. So they have to offer that sort of service. So an engineer that doesn't offer that service, to me, is it's clearly a better service because they don't have to offer that, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's a minefield out there. to select a mastering engineer. And the one thing you don't want to do is go with like an AI master, because that is shockingly bad. And that's a whole nother video that's sort of going down that sort of conversational route. But if you're going to select a mastering engineer and you're looking to who to work with, try and get to know a mastering engineer. You know, just like do they do videos like this? Do they kind of put themselves on camera? Do they help me? Do they offer me anything in return for me getting their masters done? And all things like that. Equipment, what equipment they use, clients, testimonials, before and after examples, all this sort of stuff. Kind of do your research, look into the mastering engineers who you want to work with, and yeah, find one that really works with you and works with your music, and then stick with that mastering engineer. And yeah, the mastering engineer will become a part of your sound, much like you are a part of your sound.